Story opens with a loud crash inside a small shop, where a young protagonist with black hair is startled by a girl barging through his door. She bursts in with explosive energy, calling out to him with a smile so bright it almost blinds him. He looks at her with a blank, mildly irritated stare, wondering why someone so loud has appeared in front of him so suddenly. Without taking a breath, she excitedly tells him she wants him to join her party. He's confused, unsure whether she's trying to sell him something or recruit him for a strange religious group. She assures him she's doing none of that, but her cheerful confidence only makes the situation more chaotic. When he tries dismissing her, she gives him a ridiculously dramatic gasp, as if his refusal defies the laws of nature. Their exchange grows louder, and the shop owner storms in, threatening to report them to the knights if they don't break it up. The newcomer barely reacts, instead noticing she accidentally broke the door. She immediately promises to reimburse him, then brightens as if she's had the greatest idea in the world. She introduces herself with theatrical flair, Retinoa Innocent, known widely as the attack hero, chosen by the holy sword Grand Vergu. The protagonist freezes. That name is famous throughout the kingdom. Even he has heard of her. A true hero of this generation, someone marked by destiny. She proudly insists he should join her party and begins listing absurd perks, free housing, cute girls, an amazing life. Her enthusiasm is so extreme it's almost comical. But he remains firm, certain she has mistaken him for someone else. After all, black hair is rare, and recently there were rumors of a newly chosen hero with black hair. She must think he's that person. He tries to explain he's just a D-rank adventurer living quietly. Retinoa refuses to back down. With a spark of recognition in her eyes, she asks if he remembers her yet. When he denies it, she leans closer, convinced he is the right person. Then she reminds him of an incident 5 years ago, when he saved her from a rampaging great bear. She describes how back then, she was over hunting and had gotten into trouble. As she recounts their meeting, the protagonist's expression becomes increasingly pained. He remembers. He wishes he didn't. She even repeats the emotional words he once told her, words he clearly wishes were erased from existence. He tries desperately to stop her from continuing this humiliating retelling, but it's too late. She explains that his encouragement at that time inspired her. She admired him since then. Because of him, she aimed to become a hero. The protagonist is overwhelmed by secondhand embarrassment as she dramatically recalls her growth, claiming she recognized him instantly because his eyes still look cloudy. He tries again to insist that she doesn't need him. She's already a hero, accomplished and powerful. But Retinoa shakes her head firmly. For her, the real goal was always to stand beside him in a party. She asks him for his final answer, her expression sparkling with hopeful determination. He rejects her immediately. She pretends not to hear it. He repeats it more loudly. She still acts like his answer never reached her ears. She cups her hand behind her ear, claiming she can't hear anything. Then she shouts her invitation again with even more force. The protagonist becomes increasingly frustrated, insisting he already said no. She continues to ignore every refusal. When he tells her not even for a while, she twists that into permission. He corrects her again, but she responds by extending a little while into 50 years. His expression collapses into pure disbelief as she celebrates his supposed acceptance. She then raises the stakes further, saying she'll keep him until her first great achievement, until the demon lord is defeated and the world is saved. His soul practically leaves his body at the absurdity of it. Finally, she shifts gears, asking what their party name is. He stares blankly. He never agreed to anything. She doesn't let him speak. Instead, she cheerfully says she'll come back another day and rushes out the door after promising to drop off an application form at the guild. The protagonist is left standing frozen in despair, wondering how his peaceful life vanished so suddenly. Once she's gone, he sinks into a long, exhausted sigh. The thought of fighting the demon lord terrifies him. He reflects bitterly that, in his younger years, he truly wanted to be a hero. He once dreamed of gaining power, increasing his magic, and polishing his swordsmanship, until the holy mark appeared on his body. He spent a decade battling demons, risking death over and over, all because he once aspired to that grand title. He used to believe that if he pushed through, he'd eventually be chosen, become a hero, defeat the demon lord, become king, and live a comfortable, carefree life. But over time, his admiration faded. The stories he heard told him that even as a king, life was nothing but endless work, constant obligations, and no real rest. Heroes struggled non-stop, far from the peaceful life he wanted. He remembers the reality he saw, people laughing about heroism while drinking, not understanding the constant danger heroes faced. He realized hero life wasn't easy. It was terrifying, exhausting, and lonely. So he made a decision. Instead of chasing glory, he would earn just enough to live freely and quietly. Now, after all those years, after all that effort, Retinoa has appeared out of nowhere to drag him back toward the destiny he abandoned. The protagonist stares at the sky with pure defeat as the chapter closes, wondering if fate is playing the cruelest joke imaginable. The scene shifts to the central town of Hiroyasville in the Universia Kingdom. The streets are unusually crowded, so much so that the black-haired protagonist feels relieved. Since there are so many people, Retinoa will never find him here. He weaves through the crowd with that hope in mind. While walking, he accidentally bumps into a white-haired girl. She looks startled and bows repeatedly, apologizing in a small, trembling voice. The bump wasn't serious, so he immediately apologizes as well, admitting he was the one who wasn't watching where he was going. She notices his pendant, and he notices her striking white hair, both details catching their attention for a brief moment before she panics and bows again, insisting she's sorry before rushing off into the crowd. Before he can think further, chatter erupts around him. People begin whispering in excitement. The fourth princess, Princess Rafine, has been spotted in town. Today is apparently the one day each month she's allowed to walk freely through the city. The protagonist, however, feels nothing but disinterest, brushing off the commotion entirely. The princess has nothing to do with him, and he continues with his errands. Later, after shopping, he leaves the bags behind to be delivered to the night office. With everything done, he finally allows himself a moment of peace. 1 month passes quietly, but peace doesn't last. He checks his wallet and finds almost nothing inside. Every pocket is empty. He's down to 500 rien, just enough to panic about where he'll sleep tonight. With no choice, he heads to the guild to take a job. He browses the request board until one particular notice catches his eye: an escort mission to the neighboring kingdom of Ital. Rank doesn't matter. A prepared carriage, potential additional rewards, a massive 250,000 rien payment. It stands out immediately as suspicious, especially because the client's name isn't listed, but with his funds drying up, he decides he'll take it. Once the escort is over, he can relax in Ital for a few days and recover. He accepts the request and signs his name, but just as he does, someone shouts for him to wait. He turns and freezes inside. Retinoa is standing right there. She beams at him like they parted yesterday. She explains she visited the guild and found out he never submitted the party application, so she kindly picked one up for him. She lifts the paper with absolute pride, insisting she's helping him. He rejects her immediately again, but she treats his refusal like meaningless background noise. As he tries to get away, 2 more figures appear beside her. They are clearly her companions, people who've already been working with her even before this request. One of them asks whether this is the person she had been talking about. Retinoa nods enthusiastically, announcing that he is incredibly strong. He stiffens at her claim, while the others size him up. One of them, a woman with sharp eyes, states bluntly that he doesn't look strong at all. His eyes look cloudy, and he gives off zero aura or presence. Hearing this, Retinoa puffs her cheeks in protest, accusing them of being mean. That tension makes him even more uncomfortable. Retinoa's companions introduce themselves. The calm one gives her name, Lena Antetman, an A-rank mage. The protagonist stiffens again when he hears that surname. He once beat up someone with the same red hair and elf ears who also carried the Antetman name. He regrets mentioning it immediately and decides he will stay as far away from her as physically possible. The other companion, Eve Dulcus, is a quiet girl from a family of hot-blooded assassins. She shows almost no emotion, just a flat stare that leaves him uneasy. Retinoa proudly introduces herself again as the attack hero who loves sweet snacks and hates all vegetables. The protagonist responds with his own bland introduction, that he is Dre Laro, a D-rank adventurer whose only hobby is sleeping. The entire group looks at him with mixed reactions. His anxiety spikes when Retinoa suddenly suggests they settle the matter by a vote, whether he should enter their party or not. Lena casually says she doesn't care either way. Eve, in her deadpan tone, also says she's indifferent. Retinoa immediately interprets both neutral responses as support and throws all their votes into the yes category. He tries desperately to point out that neutrality is not agreement, but Retinoa steamrolls right over him. She even points out Eve's expression and claims that face clearly means she wants him to join. He's horrified, insisting no one could possibly want a gloomy D-rank with cloudy eyes in their party. But Retinoa smiles like she's already won. The protagonist sighs in defeat as the 3-versus-1 majority is declared. Before he can object further, a new man approaches. He introduces himself confidently as Kane Stolz, an A-rank adventurer from the noble Stolz family. He says he also accepted the escort request and approaches Retinoa with dramatic admiration, acting as though they're bound by fate. Retinoa's expression goes blank. She clearly doesn't remember him. Kane, however, is shocked by the protagonist's presence. He demands to know why a trash D-rank adventurer is even here. The protagonist calmly explains he simply accepted the same request, but Kane refuses to accept that. He tries to frame it as something greater, something far more prestigious than what a mere D rank should be involved in. His arrogance hits its peak as he announces he will now explain the situation in a way even someone of such low caliber could understand. Kane continues sneering at the protagonist, accusing him of being a low-rank adventurer who probably joins missions just to mooch off nobles or grab leftover rewards from others. The protagonist reminds him the request itself said rank didn't matter, but Kane dismisses him again, insisting this is exactly why he hates low-ranked adventurers. Retinoa tries stepping in, but Kane waves her off with a patronizing laugh. He even claims the escort mission might be too harsh for someone as pathetic as a D-rank. When Retinoa attempts to defend him, Kane cuts her off, only to suddenly jingle a small pouch of coins in front of the protagonist. He assumes the protagonist is desperate for money and smugly offers him the change, telling him to pick it up and remove himself from the mission. The protagonist stares at the dropped coins, sighs, and admits truthfully that yes, he does need money, but not in the humiliating way Kane imagines. Kane continues ranting, calling low-ranked adventurers trash. The protagonist, however, calmly says there are plenty of low-rank adventurers who are more knowledgeable than anyone about medicine, monster dismantling, and survival. Many donate what little they earn to orphanages. There are plenty who work hard with integrity. If anyone is trash, he says, it's just him, not all of them. His quiet defense leaves Kane momentarily stunned. Kane then tries ordering him again, insisting he pick up the coins because someone of his status should be grateful for scraps. The protagonist refuses, pushing the money back toward him. Kane declares the loose change meaningless, bragging that he's the third son of the noble Stolz family, and thus above everyone here. Retinoa bluntly points out that being the third son still gives him no right to inherit anything, and that his high adventurer rank is probably thanks to his family's influence. Kane explodes with anger, but before he can draw his sword further, a mysterious girl's voice echoes with chilling authority. She commands him not to speak and to lay down his sword. To his horror, his body moves on its own, forced into obedience. Everyone freezes as a black-haired girl steps forward. She wears a ring that seems to distort her appearance, some kind of transformation magic. The protagonist recognizes she shares his black hair, but he has no idea who she is. She warns Kane again, using a calm but absolute tone powered by word magic, an advanced, talent-based magic impossible for most people to understand, let alone use. Kane collapses into submission, demanding she remove the restriction, but she ignores his panic. She then introduces herself, Fina, the true client who posted the escort request. She gives Kane permission to speak and listens with icy disapproval as he tries defending his earlier actions. She states she heard the Stolz family sent a capable adventurer, but instead she found this behavior. She admits she'd like to rescind the contract entirely, but, for the sake of the Stolz family's reputation, she will give Kane one last chance. Then she Retinoa's party. Fina declares the protagonist is also at fault for adding fuel to the conflict, even if Kane escalated things. So, as part of their lesson, she orders both him and Kane to ride together in her carriage. The protagonist pales instantly. He can already sense more lecturing in the future. Retinoa's group reacts cheerfully, oblivious to his dread. They depart for Etul. During the ride, Fina tells him he may drop honorifics and call her simply Fina. She then admits she actually has questions for him, specifically about a black-haired masked person. The protagonist briefly wonders if she's interested in him because he also has black hair, but he answers honestly, he knows no one like that. He was the only black-haired person in his hometown. Fina grows increasingly hopeful. She explains she's searching for her fated person. Someone she met when she was 6, someone with black hair, someone who saved her like a prince in a storybook. The protagonist listens awkwardly as she gushes emotionally about her childhood hero, revealing he even promised to marry her in the future. She shows the protagonist the ring given to her by this person, her biggest treasure. 3 hours later, she is still talking. She continues rambling passionately about how incredible her hero was, how he saved her life, how she waited 9 long years hoping to meet him again. The protagonist listens politely, though internally he's exhausted. Apologizes, realizing she talked far too long, but quickly regains excitement. She mentions a rumor from Etul. A black-haired hero was recently chosen there, and she is convinced her fated savior has finally appeared. That's why she hired escorts to travel there. She's determined to meet him again. As evening falls, she retrieves snacks from her item box, surprising the protagonist. Spatial magic requires enormous mana, yet she uses it so casually. She offers him specialty snacks that immediately sell out in most towns. Although he doesn't have a sweet tooth, he gratefully accepts. She beams at him, delighted. They decide to take a break at a small clearing. Retinoa eagerly takes a snack too, melting with joy as she eats it. The protagonist places one aside for Kane, who's still sulking from earlier. Kane tries brushing it off, but embarrassment creeps into his voice. Later, night watch begins. Another adventurer wakes the protagonist for his shift, warning him to stay alert and joking that the girl who visited earlier was practically an angel. The protagonist is still confused when a soft voice greets him again. Fina appears during the night watch. She smiles shyly, explaining she wanted to experience night guard duty because she rarely gets to leave her home. She assures him that despite her delicate appearance, she's actually quite strong. He tries telling her it's dangerous, but she remains firm. She'll stand guard with him, and truthfully, with her detection magic, she might actually be more capable than any guard assigned to her. Fina suddenly notices a small creature nearby, a drooping rabbit. She lights up with childlike wonder, saying it's her first time seeing one because they usually hide so quickly. She approaches it with delight, revealing it's a D-rank monster with valuable parts. The protagonist quietly deals with it while she turns away. Then her gaze shifts to his pendant. She touches it gently, remarking how it looks precious. She tells him she once dropped her own pendant, but a kind person returned it to her. That pendant, she says, is her treasure. It holds the photo of the person she's been talking about all this time. At that moment, dread washes over the protagonist. Fina grows emotional again, admitting she sometimes fears the person she's been waiting for 9 years might already be dead. She wonders if she will ever truly meet him again. The protagonist, feeling a quiet empathy, tells her softly that he believes the person is still alive. Fina brightens instantly, giggling as she says he's surprisingly kind. As the night watch continues, Fina teases the protagonist gently, saying it wouldn't be good if he locked himself away at home forever. He admits he honestly would, if he could, explaining with lazy honesty that he lacks motivation, sleeps most of the time, and prefers doing just enough work to live comfortably. He even calls himself a handsome guy, half-jokingly. He describes his ideal life as stress-free, half effort, half pay, and maximum peace. Their conversation drifts toward what people do for love. Fina tells him it's fine even if someone were to elope with the person they loved. The protagonist says he might be reckless enough to do that himself if he ever met the right person and didn't have to worry about status. Fina grows thoughtful. She has been waiting 9 long years for her promised someone, and hearing him encourages her. He tells her she made that decision herself, and she quietly agrees. They both acknowledge how mysterious it feels, opening up so easily to each other. Fina wonders if she should really be more selfish. The protagonist tells her not to worry about it. He even says she can confide in him if she has more concerns. He'll listen. Fina immediately brightens and says they should talk more about the person she has been waiting for. Several days pass as they continue the escort mission, but there's almost no activity. Fortunately, a village lies ahead, so they decide to rest there for the night. The protagonist describes the journey as extremely relaxed. Other adventurers handled every monster encounter, leaving him with nothing to do. Eventually, they emerge from the woods and approach the village. Something is wrong. There are no gate guards. The silence is unnatural. They enter cautiously and discover the village completely empty. No villagers anywhere. Windows open. Homes abandoned. Their footsteps echo in the eerie stillness. Retinoa calls out, but no one answers. The protagonist feels a jolt of panic, wondering if it's finally time for a D-rank adventurer to shine. Suddenly, a trembling old man appears, asking if they are adventurers. They rush to him and ask what happened. He explains that every villager, was kidnapped. It happened just a few days earlier. Monsters and masked men working together stormed the village, stole food, goods, and metals, and took all the people. The old man escaped only because he was a traveler staying temporarily, and because his injured leg made him useless as a slave. The group learns the attackers arrived by hiding inside a merchant's cargo cart, threatening him to slip past the gate guards. They suspect beast tamers or bandit groups capable of controlling monsters stronger than rank B. Discussion leads to a grim conclusion. Slavery has been abolished in this continent, but in others, especially regions dominated by beast folk who still resent past oppression, human slaves fetch a high price. Fina clenches her fists, determined. Despite the escort being their only official job, she refuses to abandon the villagers. As the client, she declares they will save them. Retinoa agrees, but they wonder how to locate the kidnappers. Fina prepares to use clairvoyance magic, but her guards panic. If she uses such a spell, her disguise will become meaningless. Before they can stop her, the protagonist reveals he has a rare magic tool for searching. He offers to use it himself. Using the tool, he locates a cave in the woods. The kidnappers haven't gone far. The group confirms the information matches earlier clues, and the villagers appear to still be alive. More than 60 kidnappers are gathered there, far too many to confront directly without danger. If they attack head-on, the bandits may use villagers as hostages. They consider sneaking in, but Retinoa unexpectedly says they should attack openly. Everyone stares at her, confused. She reminds them she is the attack hero. Going straight in should be easy. The others suddenly realize they completely forgot she was the hero. With renewed confidence, the offensive team charges toward the hideout. Bandits scream in panic as Retinoa and the A-rank adventurers crush monster after monster. Explosions shake the cave. Retinoa laughs with excitement as enemies flee. Supporting adventurers cheer, impressed by how effortlessly the upper ranks break through. Meanwhile, the protagonist stays inside the hideout, lying flat on the ceiling with gravitation magic, avoiding the fight entirely. He explains he was assigned house-sitting duty and doesn't feel like fighting anyway. He understands why others thought he would be in the way. He's a D rank after all. He activates detection magic just in case, remembering something unsettling from the past when he recognizes a skull-patterned scarf among the enemy's belongings. The infiltration goes smoothly, and the rescue of the villagers begins. But then he spots something alarming. Kane is in danger. Despite calling Kane annoying earlier, the protagonist genuinely wants to save him, but he doesn't know how. The moment the protagonist finishes analyzing the situation, Kane continues struggling hopelessly against the enemy. Every swing of Kane's sword looks unsteady, more like the movements of a tired C rank than the A rank he claims to be. The protagonist observes quietly from above, wondering why Kane still isn't using body-strengthening magic. For any swordsman, that kind of reinforcement is basic, yet Kane fights as if he's forbidden from using it.